So this July, Truckstop will be celebrating 30 years of serving the industry. And through the past 3 decades of delivering a secure freight marketplace, we've seen the evolution of the industry, of technology, new solutions, new tactics, and we've seen the evolution of fraud. And things that we've talked about, you've heard from others today. These bad actors are more organized, more skilled. They're constantly learning and adapting. They are surveying your perimeters and looking for any potential area that they can exploit and attack quickly. And what has become clear to us, and as you've heard from others today, is so it's not just about technology, but securing your perimeter requires also intelligence, making sure those points of weakness, it's not your people. They open the door, leave the door open, doesn't matter how secure your locks are, if someone can walk right in. So it is critical to make sure that you are also learning, staying on top of this, that we are working together and using partners in the industry who have expertise in this is important. And this is where I'm excited to have Alex Dubé from the Hetherington Group here. So Alex, if you can describe what you do and who you are.
Perfect. Yes. So I recently retired out of the Army, Special Operations Community, and then I began working at Hetherington Group. So I'm their senior technical instructor and curriculum developer. So what Hetherington Group is a private intelligence organization. So we do what's called OSINT, so open source intelligence. And what that means is we take large, internet is huge and there's a lot of information out there. So what we do is we teach a methodology of how to research and find the information that's relevant to what you're trying to accomplish in that area. So for example, if it's cargo or freight, you're trying to find the bad actors, the threat actors, the TTPs, how they're doing what they're doing, and you're trying to find that on the internet and find that information that's open source. And we also at Hetherington provide a service. So we do intelligence service for corporate, DoD, and law enforcement as well.
Yeah, I was at TAPA last December, and your CEO, Cynthia Hetherington, talked about the dark web and AI and how these bad actors are using the same technologies that we're trying to use to automate and optimize our processes, but using it to exploit systems. And so what are you seeing as you're going out and you're doing these investigations? What are the top tactics that you're seeing?
I think one of the biggest things with AI we have to understand is that it's a repeatable action. It's a tool that's being used by these nefarious actors, and they're building it out to do what they would do normally, but just exponentially increase the speed and size and scale that they're able to do. So it is a repeatable action, and we can see it and understand how it works across large amounts of data sets to identify it. And one of the big things that we're seeing, and a lot of speakers up here have talked about it, is attacking the individual and attacking the organization. So we're seeing individuals be targeted through phishing, through, AI phone calls, bot calls, all those different groups to find that information on the individual carriers and truckers. But we're also seeing that it's being used to attack the brokers as well, because they're able to get into the systems of these broker systems and find the information that they're looking for and gain access to, credentials that are on the individual systems to access it. We're also seeing from the broker side of it, they're using fraud. We're looking for it. Lost it. Fraudulent pickups, and all those actions to fake and develop what they are as an industry to be able to get those actual pickups in and then to steal them.
Yeah, fictitious pickup is something that is prevalent out there. You have the strategic theft. That's one of the most prominent areas of that, and been talked about at a lot of different conferences there. And that exploiting others, and this is a thing, is we put in different protections in place, and previously they would go and make changes to information and try to have them have the phone number or email and systems. And now they found they could take over the identity of someone. And some of it may be through, as you mentioned, phishing, taking over an account, using that as a way to get the information necessary. Because again, you may have Fort Knox, but they're going to go through and they're going to find a way in. And if they can get in through an employee of that company, they can sneak in through there. How do they, not only impersonation, but is that exploitation of the identity of another person to get the information that they need to find that load, pick up that load. And there are thousands out there. They're going and exploiting. And when they attack fast. 48 hours, they're going to go and attack, and they're going to disappear and reemerge. The chameleons have a new skin on how they're going out and doing this, and they're finding all these different ways of doing it. And so, talk a little bit more around social, the open source aspects of what you see.
So one of the big things is us on the intelligence side, right? We have limitations. We have ethical boundaries that we have to follow. Threat actors don't. So they are able to bypass any kind of ethical, moral code, and they just want to get that information. So any research that they can do online, we can do it as well. But we are tailored to countering what they're doing. So I'll use an example of a SMS phishing attempt, right? And this was directly at me. So I received a message and it was, hey, we're meeting up for lunch. And I was like, okay, I don't know who you are, but I decided to engage with it and see where it went. And they were trying to derive information, my birth date, my home address, all this different stuff. So me being who I am, decided to go the other way. And I sent them information, and using what they can use on us, it's called a canary token or a Grabify link. And what it does is when you click on a link, it may take you to Google, it may take you to Truckstop, but it's going to take a route that allows them to see all that information that's about you. So from that, I was able to pull location data, information of IP addresses, and was able to find out who they were. That brought me to an open source IP address located in Nevada that was using VPNs. Now, that should stop, right? Using a VPN protects you, but you have to look at what VPN ranges that were being utilized. And it was only being utilized by an Indonesian company located in Indonesia. It's a chatbot AI company. So it was a chatbot developed in Indonesia that was trying to gather as much information about me as possible. So that is what they were doing. I was able to counter it, and I got a picture of their CEO and sent it to them and was like, is this who you are? And they stopped responding after that. But that was just a defensive measure for doing it. But now for an offensive measure, they're able to find out all the information about the broker, but now they can input malware. And so if you click on a link that you have no idea who it's from, and you click on it, now you have access. If you're using a work computer, from an email, from a text message, they have access, they can have access to all of that information. So now they're able to go into the software that everyone uses and change information for fraudulent pickups.
And that's the thing is mentioned that they're trying to find a way in. They're trying to get access to credentials to get into these systems to be able to exploit your systems, your people as well through this. So what can people do? This feels overwhelming, insurmountable. Like, where do they start?
So for the individual level, you start by just simple, cybersecurity practices that we've talked about. Don't click on links. Don't do anything like that. One of the other ways that we call pivot, and we're able to find more information, is social media. So if you're open, your social media is open and you're tagging your locations, you're tagging what companies you're working for, what truck routes you're going for, and that's publicly open. Now the threat actors are able to see that information and start building that profile on you to get more and more fine-tuned in their attack on you, and using that social engineering to be able to be like, oh, okay, this is actually Bill that I work with, and he's trying to send me it. He just has a new number. I've used red teaming is, the opposite side of you're trying to attack and see what defenses are there. I've used that where I've implemented being somebody else, and people just click on it because it's part of their system, it's part of their job, it's part of whoever they're doing it. So they need to understand what's out there and how to protect themselves by not, those simple things of not clicking on it. It's not wildly hard or difficult. But also start locking down some of their social media and how they communicate with individuals. And then that's from the individual side, from the broker or from the, people in industry. Everyone thinks it's, you have these tools, then that's awesome. And they're very useful. But you have to, what happens when it's quick, or if it's a new one that's not in your tool set, you have to understand and do your own research to verify that this individual carrier that's coming to pick it up is who they say they are. Because as many have talked about, they purchase licenses or, expired ones, and they're just acting like that individual. But how do you make sure that that's real? And so that's when, from the research side on our end, you're able to know, we teach you how to start with a methodology, to know where to strategically start and to where to progress, to find that information, to make sure that that individual that you're doing business with is who they say they are, and they're coming to pick up your product.
So can you also help companies out there better understand. I use the term perimeter, but really you think about your ecosystem, and Truckstop is an extension of your ecosystem. We are part of that, but you need to understand who you're working with from a vendor standpoint and your platform. So do you help in that area?
Yes. So we take how vendors and platforms work and how they can find that information by themselves and complement the vendors and the platforms that they're utilizing. So it's not just one single sole source. And for a lot of the vendors as well, we teach how to take large data sets, because that's hugely what we're using for these platforms, these software platforms, and we bring it down and we analyze and refine that data to understand what it's showing and what processes that these individual state actors are using, not state actors, threat actors are using.
And something that's critical, we've heard about the layers of security and a lot of these other areas. It is that continuous education that is critical. The bad actors are continuously learning. They're talking. They have a network. They may even be sitting in a room like this and talking to each other and learning about new tactics and how to circumvent those. And so continue to work together. It's critical that we are all working together and trying to make this the least hospitable industry for the bad actors. Right now, it's opportunists. The pirates don't leave the waters; they find other waters, and we're an easy target right now. And then within the industry, the people, the humans, are that easy target. And we have a saying at Truckstop: it's Fraud Friday, and they're going to attack end of day on a Friday before the holiday. And so we talk about policies and procedures and training your people, but also having additional elevated requirements around when you're talking to somebody, or awareness, really. And that's a lot of this is around intelligence, being aware and helping the people in your company be aware that they're going to try and attack the human part of you. They're going to look at when you're not wanting to be there, when you're possibly going to make a poor decision. And so helping people understand that they're going to tap into the urgency. And we heard that earlier today. They're going to make it urgent. They're going to hit you when you don't want to be there, hoping to exploit you. And so it's making sure your people are not that weak point of your perimeter. So anything else? Is there something that people need to be doing, companies need to be doing that they are not today? Like, what is the one thing you want to leave these folks with?
So I think one of the biggest thing is it's always very scary, right? I don't have the time to do this. I'm dealing with thousands and thousands of shipments a day. How do I don't have the time to individually look through each person and spend an hour doing it. But I think one of the biggest things is, you don't know if you haven't been taught. And so when you are trying to learn something, it takes you a lot longer to do it, right? I can build a wall. It takes me, 3 days to do it, versus I hire a contractor and he does it in 5 minutes. And so the more practice that you get, and we teach, and the more reps that you get, and you actually have a structured approach to it, it goes a lot quicker than you think. So now, instead of spending an hour researching a vendor or carrier, I take 5 minutes and I go, okay, yep, this is exactly who I'm supposed to be picking up. Who's supposed to be picking up my product and shipping it out, versus I think so, I was told so, and then I'm waiting and hoping that it does, right? I'm able to take that initiative in myself and my organization and go spend that 5 minutes and understand exactly who it is that's supposed to be picking it up and that's going to pick up my product, and they are who they say they are. And I can secondhand validate that individuals have worked with them before and what is their presence in that area. So a lot of times these threat actors that are doing these fake pickups, right, they have a business license. And so you have those commercial databases, and this is where open source intelligence plays a huge part, is you have these commercial databases from the government, and you go, okay, yep, that number is matched to that name, and that's so that is correct in that database. But then if you start doing open source research and you go, LinkedIn, all these other different channels, and you go, okay, that company hasn't been operating for 15 years. And now all of a sudden they're saying that they're picking it up with the same person. That doesn't make sense. And so that 5 minutes of just doing that research and, starting big and going small down to exactly who you're looking for, you're able to go, okay, this person is not who they say they are. And it just doesn't pass that initial sniff check and be able to do it.
Well, it's critical to get below the surface as well, because they'll create a perception of legitimacy,
right?
And they'll watch out for Gmail. So they register a domain, and then so you need to look and see when was that domain created.
Right.
And you talk about the LinkedIn, or what is their history of existence. But to your point on the education, and repetitive, it's cognitive muscle memory
Mhm.
that when you're walking down the street, you can, physical tells of this is not right or not, and I'm going to walk to the other side of the street. It's difficult when you're on the phone or through an email to get those tells and to build that into, especially your carrier sales team. They're turning things so quickly. Their focus is on their customer and covering that load quickly. So how do you, it's that creating that simple cognitive reaction that something's not quite right, and then making sure that they have a process to either stop or elevate to somebody else. So really thank you for the time here. I know you're going to be around. Your colleague, Dan, is going to be around as well. If anyone wants to talk with Hetherington Group, they offer great services, training for your teams, evaluation. There's a lot of great things. We really are happy with your service and what you do. So I want to thank you for the time here today, and thank you all. So
Perfect. Thank you.